Hi everybody, my name's Adam Berardi. I'm a cinematographer. I've done over 10 feature films and documentaries, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. Now, whether you're getting the Pocket Cinema Camera 4K or if you're thinking about the 6K or the 6K Pro, they're all great options, especially for a beginner cinematographer. However, they do have some limitations. For every good thing the Blackmagic has, there's something that I don't like right beside it. And in specific, I'm going to be talking just about the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K today. So let's get started. First off, the Blackmagic is gigantic, so it doesn't generally fit on a gimbal, and since it's a cinema camera, it doesn't have any stabilizing functions in it. Now, Blackmagic does say it has a gyroscope inside of it that helps with stabilization if you use DaVinci. However, if you go watch some test videos of how that stabilization works, it's really not very good. So I would try to stay away from that and perhaps get yourself a gimbal like this one. This is a very affordable gimbal, one of my favorites. This is the Zhiyun, or Zhiyun, however you want to pronounce it. It's right there. Weeble S. It has a really high max payload. I don't know right now how much it is, but it can easily hold your Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera with one small problem. If you notice, for a pocket camera, this thing is ginormous. It's not as small as perhaps the Sony A7 series or any mirrorless camera you could possibly find on the market that is actually designed for these for the most part. However, it's an easy fix. I went to B&H Photo, which, by the way, B&H does not pay me for this. It's just a site I like to go to, and I have a credit card, so I always buy things on the fly when I need them. And you can buy these little counterweights, and that'll help you balance your gimbal out better. This is only about 100 grams, so it really didn't take a lot of balancing. My computer did something. It really doesn't take a lot of balancing anyway. 100 grams is enough to balance out your rig perfectly. And if you notice, I have an Olympus. They make great lenses, Olympus does, but they're a little bit heavy sometimes. But it's a 14 to 150 on that. And I put a follow focus that's also made by Zhiyun on that, so that I could use all of the camera's tremendously awesome controls, like the follow focus, to control the camera without touching it. And it works really well. Zhiyun's come a long way into making the integration of Blackmagic cameras into this gimbal just flawless. I love it. I put a few extra side handles on it. One back grip side handle cost $9 off Amazon, another one here, and this ginormous battery pack. Now that's a problem right there. The reason why it's a problem is because it's extremely heavy, but for me, sometimes I shoot for long periods of time, and I don't have time to change the batteries. That's the first problem with this camera. I'm gonna put it down. So the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema cameras, they come with a little Sony battery that you can put inside, and if you get the ones from Blackmagic, they say they'll last for about an hour. I've never gotten an hour's worth of recording time out of those batteries, 40 minutes at best. If you buy the generic ones, good luck, maybe a half an hour max. So you're constantly switching out batteries. So if you have this camera on a gimbal, you're not gonna be very happy, because you're gonna have to constantly take the camera off, put another battery in, and then rebalance the entire gimbal before you can start shooting. So not an ideal setup, especially if you're doing videography, for a wedding or something of that nature, or an event. So I would say get an external battery source, clamp it to the side of one of these gimbals, and you're ready to go. One of the things I don't like about the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera is the rolling shutter. It's very slow. I think it's like 8 or 10 milliseconds slow. So if you're going to do a whip pan very quickly, you'll get a jello move out of that. So all of your footage will kind of go like this as it moves, which is not ideal. If you're going past a picket fence or metal fence, you'll see that problem as well. It won't be jello, but it'll stutter, and it's not really a great look. So you want to keep your camera as steady as possible, move slower if you can, not very quickly, and again, try to use a gimbal. Some of the things the camera does really well is that it has a compressed format of RAW. It's B-RAW. It's Blackmagic's own compressed file format. So instead of having these huge RAW files that it used to have, which would take up terabytes of disk space. These B-RAWs are very compressed. I believe that you can, and don't quote me on this, but I believe they're 10-bit. So the color space is fantastic on them. You can get a lot out of them. And if you have DaVinci, which I have behind me right now, you can actually open up the B-RAW setting on the side, which is right there. You can see it's right in the corner, and you can adjust everything on DaVinci as if you adjusted it in your camera, which is a fantastic help. For instance, if you shot something at 300 ISO, but you should have shot it at 100, it can help you because you can change that ISO in the program rather than on the camera. That really helps. It can help with tint and with color space. It's a fantastic tool to use. I'm not going to get very technical, and I'm trying not to help people who are just starting out in this. So if you know a lot about cameras and you're looking for a different video, please go ahead. I understand that this is a really basic video for people who have just started using these. Another thing that I really love about the Blackmagic camera is just the picture quality that comes out of it. Again, you have two options, not a whole bunch. A lot of cinema cameras will let you shoot in H.264, H.265, all of the ProRes flavors, and then you can usually shoot one in their RAW flavor of whatever that is, and it's just a tremendous amount of information. In a camera, you can just choose whatever you want and shoot. This doesn't have that. You have two options. You have ProRes and you have B-RAW. Now, you do have a lot of different options when it comes to ProRes and B-RAW, but unfortunately those are the two that you have, and because of that I always just select B-RAW because I want the best picture quality possible. And if you're trying to recover highlights from, let's say, the clouds in the sky or something like that, you can totally do that in B-RAW, so I always suggest using that. A drawback to using the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera, again, is that it's the 4K is a micro four thirds sensor. It's a much smaller sensor, so you're not getting a whole bunch of light. So in very dark situations, you may have a problem, especially when you're using a lens like I just showed you, where I believe the highest f-stop is 4. You know, so when you're using a lens that's like a cinema lens that can go all the way to 0.95 or something like that, well, that's amazing. You can let a lot of light in. Unfortunately, if you're using a gimbal, can't put a gigantic cinema lens on that. So that's another thing that you might want to look out for if you're thinking about purchasing this camera, is that low light situations sometimes aren't the best. Don't get me wrong, you can get a great picture in low light situations, but it's not going to be as much as a more expensive cinema camera. However, in bright light situations, this thing is a beast. It can do almost anything you want it to do with no ND filters on it. If you get the, I believe it's the 6 Pro, it comes with built-in ND filters, which is awesome. If you get the 4, it doesn't. So you'd have to buy some to put on the side. It's more cumbersome. It's a difficult mess. And then you have to decide whether or not you're going to want to use a tripod with that, because you have more things on the camera than the gimbal might be able to support, unless you get a much more expensive gimbal than this. I believe these Zhiyun Weebill S's are like $350 last time I checked. I think that's what I bought mine for. Now, I went out to my local park today at sunset and took some test footage for you guys. And that way you can see some of the pluses, some of the strengths the Blackmagic has, and some of its weaknesses. For instance, like I said, the rolling shutter. However, highlight recovery on this thing is amazing, and I want you guys to see that. I took some footage of things in very shadowy, dark areas, moved the camera up to bright areas, and you'll see there's a lot to work with there. Highlight recovery on this camera is amazing, especially in DaVinci. And if you buy one of the Blackmagic cameras, by the way, Blackmagic doesn't pay me for this, I just like Blackmagic, you also get a copy of the Pro version of DaVinci for free. And you get to have that for life, all the updates and everything, which is a huge advantage, especially to those just starting out. So without further ado, I'm going to show you guys the video that I shot today so you can see kind of some of the problems the Blackmagic has and some of its strengths. It has a great picture. I hope you guys enjoy it. Notice the rolling shutter in the background a little bit. When it comes to branches, you'll notice I moved very quickly. That was intentional, and I did do some shots where it was kind of dark and shadowy, and I moved up to the light so you can see a lot of the Blackmagic's range and strength in that area, especially when shooting in B-RAW. So enjoy the video. You'll notice there's not a lot of technical jargon on that. That's intentional. Just wanted to show you guys what this camera could do in these situations. Well, that's all, guys. Thanks for watching. If you like what you saw today and you would like to see more in the future, don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, bye.